While the world looks for a future king, they found something far more unpredictable. He may be the youngest, but Prince Louis has a personality that refuses to be quieted. From calculated balcony mischief to the most innocent of heists, these are the moments where the facade of royalty finally cracked. Amid the thunder of million-dollar engines and a sky full of calculated roar, Louis becomes a one-kid thunderclap of excitement. He likely feels the vibration in his very bones, wondering why the adults aren't screaming with him. But then, as the smoke trails clear, he begins pointing and waving like the world's most enthusiastic aviation commentator. At the school gates, a different kind of defiance emerges. Louis likely felt the weight of his father's hand as a tether he no longer needed. What they saw next was a tiny stand of absolute independence. He set a determined jaw and took a brave stride that said, "I walk alone." The big help out was meant to be a display of service, a routine photo op for the cameras. But then the atmosphere shifted as Louis picked up a bow. He wasn't just playing, he was battling his own siblings with a chillingly professional focus, his eyes locked on a target only he could see. Louis watches his older brother George with the intensity of a predator studying its prey. He probably thought, if he can lead with a look, so can I. What happened next was a perfect mini impression that reduced the family to giggles, proving that personality is the most contagious virus. The coronation was a day of solemn oaths, but for Louis, it was a day for a heist. He likely smelled the sugar before he even saw the fire. But then, as the cameras panned, he pulled off a masterclass in opportunistic theft, chowing down on toasted marshmallows and turning a national event into a private feast.
Ladies' Day.
Have a nice day.
I'm going to hear a peep out of him now.
You want?
Among the noise, a moment of profound stillness. Louis paints his tiny hand right next to his mother's, a gesture that probably felt like an anchor in a world of flashing cameras. Those quiet, coordinated strokes say more about the bloodline than 1,000 formal appearances. Standing on the palace balcony with the eyes of billions fixed upon him, Louis likely felt the heat of the spotlight. But then the mischief took over. Faces, winks, and perfectly timed anarchy. He probably realized that if the world is forced to watch, you might as well give them a show they can't forget. Louis reaches out to pat Prince William's uniform, part inspection, part affection. He likely wondered if the fabric felt as heavy as the responsibility it represented. That tiny gesture makes a big, warm statement about a toddler's curiosity meeting the armor of a future king. As the pageantry drags on, the air grows heavy with boredom. The attention of Louis begins to drift, becoming a live-action reminder that nature abhors a vacuum. He likely felt the itch of the chair, leading to the side-eye and the wiggles. Tiny rebellions against the stiffness of history itself. Jubilee was a grand stage, but then it became a living room. Louis asked to sit on King Charles's knees, a private family hug in the center of a public storm. He probably felt safe there, tucked away from the glare, while the world watched a grandfather replace a monarch. It was a long day, and the silence became too much for Louis to bear. He likely thought a roar might wake the crowd. What they saw next was him sticking out his tongue and pretending to be a lion, an absurd, perfect performance of a kid who refuses to be ignored. At the kindness tree, Louis approaches with a chillingly professional gravity. He pins on a message as if he were participating in a sacred ritual. He probably felt the weight of the moment, looking proud of an achievement that felt grander than any royal title. Louis hasn't mastered the diplomatic wave, but what he offers is far more dangerous. Sincerity, a squinty smile, and a half wave that probably felt like a secret between him and the crowd. Official protocol was met with his raw candor, and the crowd couldn't help but gush. During the coronation service, the air was thick with incense and ancient tradition, but then the fatigue set in. Louis likely felt his eyelids growing heavy as the service stretched beyond his endurance. A wide, unmasked yawn became his final, honest word on the proceedings. Louis isn't just a storm, he is the calm after it. After receiving flowers, he doesn't keep the trophy. He probably thought of his sister immediately. What we see next is a rush of pure sibling love as he delivers them to Charlotte, turning public adoration into a moment of private tenderness. On a day out with the scouts, the photo op dissolved into reality. Louis was willing to put in the work, his face showing a genuine enjoyment of hands-on labor. He likely felt the dirt under his nails was more honest than the gold on his family's crest. Chaos wasn't learned. For Louis, it was innate. During his debut, he almost knocked off Queen Camilla's hat in a moment of delicious disorder. He probably had no idea how close he came to a viral faux pas, yet he managed to turn a formal event into instant viral gold. Since his earliest days, Louis has carried a quiet distaste for the sky's roar. Even now, the sound makes him scrunch up in protest. He likely feels a visceral rejection of the noise, a small, very human quirk that connects him to every child who ever wanted the world to just be quiet. At Trooping the Color, the air was supposed to be filled with the scent of tradition, but then the horse manure hit. Louis winced, his face a map of genuine discomfort. He probably thought the stoicism of his brother was madness as he gestured in pure, gritted teeth disgust. Sometimes, the tension breaks with a single look, a bright, unself-conscious grin from Louis that probably felt like a breath of fresh air to a nation watching. In 10 seconds, he destroys the barrier between the crown and the people with a smile that needs no translation. When the band begins to play, the prince disappears and the child emerges. Louis likely felt the music in a way the protocol wouldn't allow. He turned a stiff ceremony into a celebration through pure, adorable abandon, his little feet tapping to a rhythm only he understood. Even princes need a father's ear. Watch as Louis tries desperately to get Prince William's attention, tapping his shoulders with a relentless, quiet urgency. He probably felt invisible in the crowd, a small boy reaching for a giant who was busy ruling. Louis Arthur Charles is the youngest child of a lineage that stretches back a millennium. While George and Charlotte prepare for the weight of the crown, he has probably already decided his role, the family's official, unscripted scene stealer. Louis made his debut as a toddler and immediately became a viral favorite. From yawns to grimaces, those tiny expressions launched countless memes. He likely didn't realize that in simply being himself, he was becoming the most relatable member of the firm. Jets and flypasts are the kryptonite of Louis, lighting him up with a spectacle he cannot contain. If there's a plane in the sky, he'll be the one pointing the loudest. He probably thinks the sky is putting on a show specifically for his benefit. Whether it's a marshmallow heist or happily chomping a treat, Louis is hilariously earnest about snacks. Those sticky finger moments serve as a reminder that underneath the title, he is a real kid first and a prince second. Louis mimics his older siblings, a quick hair flick, a little salute. These micro-imitations show a playful kid who learns by watching. He probably thinks he's catching up to them, one gesture at a time. It is rumored that Louis is King Charles's favorite grandson. He is always seen cuddling him, a private warmth in a cold world of duty. He likely feels a bond with the king that transcends the throne, anchored in simple, quiet conversations. Louis isn't shy about his distastes. Loud engines and long services top the list. Those honest reactions are what make him so relatable. He probably doesn't understand why everyone else is so good at hiding how they really feel. The The signature move of Louis, the half wave and squinty smile, has become a thumbnail for the internet. Each wave is a moment where his candor meets the expectations of a kingdom. If his early years are any indication, Louis will continue to give us the one thing the monarchy usually hides: the truth. He remains a tender, goofy, and perfectly unscripted ambassador of joy. But as the years pass and the duty grows heavier, we are left to wonder, will the crown eventually quiet him, or will the boy finally change the crown?